Hello all YouTubers, I am the Weather Dude. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you all for tuning back in. Today's weather presentation is going to be about a major winter storm possible for the Northeast. Don't take it for granted. This is going to be about 6 days out. But I am going to be talking about a winter storm potential for the Northeast and Mid-South, and also the temperature outlook for the United States within the next couple weeks. So let's get right into it here. As always, please consider clicking the subscribe button right there. Alright, let's get started. So this is the GFS model, and I'm going to show you what the models are saying about how this storm is going to interact. So watch as the storm comes up from the south, and because the 18Z model isn't complete yet, I'm going to be using the 12Z model because I think it has more detail in it. So and we're going to watch this snow. So it's going to start here around maybe late January 12th into the 13th. And then it's going to come up from the south. And it's going to clip us very good if you live in southeastern Pennsylvania. And right around there you can see very heavy snow. But even some lighter snow it's still going into like Vermont and New Hampshire. There's still going to be a lot of snow here. And then watch as we head the time forward to hour 150. This is when we could see blizzard conditions. There's that storm center sitting right off the coast, and it has some very heavy snows potentially. And the models are going all out on this. It depends what model you look at, of course. But if you want to talk about the GFS model, they are calling for a heck of a lot of snow on the 12Z run. If we look over at the 12Z run, and we scroll the hour to maybe like 168, because the storm should be definitely over by then. 168. And this is including ice. I will show you a map without the ice. But it's saying a lot. 12, 13, 11 inches, 11 to 13 inches here. But the 18Z run's saying a lot less. But, you know, they still gotta modify and finish off that. So I'm not gonna look out for that just yet. But even 8 inches extending all the way back to Kentucky and even down the Appalachian Mountains could pick up a good 6 to 10 inches of snow. And then Connecticut coastline, 6 to 10 inches, maybe up towards Boston. But again, that's including sleet. You usually don't want to factor in that sleet because it usually makes the snow totals look bigger. If you're talking about just the snow, then again, it almost looks the same. We're still talking about like 10 to 12 inches here for the Philly area and southeastern Pennsylvania. Down the Appalachian Mountains, the snow totals are a lot less. Now they're all limited to the high tops, the 6 to 10 inches. They're not really closer to the ground. Closer to the ground, you'll see like 2 or 3 inches. And then West Virginia could still pick up a good foot and a half. And look at this. Up towards Boston could still pick up 6 to 10 inches, maybe even 6 to 12. So the ice isn't really factored much in this storm because it's January, you know? It's not one of those fall snowstorms that we factor ice in a lot. I mean, it's January. This is one of the coldest times of the year. And this is when the ice isn't really going to matter. It's going to be a lot of snow. Unless you live in the Mid-South. You're still going to have a lot of ice there during the wintertime. FE3 GFS are kind of squashing this snow farther south. And they're saying like, you know, I-95 Baltimore, Maryland on southward. Maybe like a good 6 to 10 inches widespread. Nothing like 12, 13. And southeast Pennsylvania maybe picking up like 4 to 5 inches. Which this I really don't agree with either. And then central Pennsylvania, northern Jersey, up towards Boston, maybe like 2 to 4 inches of snow. This, I think it's got a little bit under on these totals. And the FE3 usually has a cold and snowy bias. Like it likes to give a lot of areas a lot of snow. I would show the GEM model. Okay, the GEM model is showing like 40 inches of snow up here in Maine. So the GEM used to be a good model. Now it's starting to get a very bullish. It's starting to put just a whopping amount of snow in random areas. So I kind of stopped looking at it. If you want to look at it, you can click right here. You can go to global. You can go to CMC. That's what the GEM model is. But model's gotten very like untrustworthy anymore. So here's pivotalweather.com, and it kind of tells you the same thing, except I like Pivotal Weather because it actually puts the numbers on the map. Like you don't have to the Chalkable Tidbits, excuse me. You gotta look at the key and look at the map. But this one puts the numbers on there for you. So let me change my color there. So still the same thing here. 12, 13 inches of snow, New York City, down to southeastern Pennsylvania. Do not take this for granted. This could change easily. The 18Z run is calling for 4 inches now in this area, as opposed to the 12Z run. Okay, so up towards Boston, maybe 6 to 10 inches. maybe down the Appalachian Mountains, maybe even like a foot, 15 inches. And back towards Kentucky, maybe 6 to 10 as well. And then Ohio picking up a good 3 to 5 inches. But again, these totals could change at any given point in time. Again, please do not take this for granted. Okay, don't sue me or any of the other weathermen if we get this wrong. Okay, things can change and they will change as we head through time. So, with that said, we're gonna go over the AccuWeather, and this is their article that they have here about the snowstorm. Now, according to AccuWeather, and I painted this out on paint, there are two scenarios. Okay, and I kind of painted this out too before I looked at this. It's just kind of similar to them. So, this is scenario number 1. Okay, so we would have a low to the north and a low to the south. Low to the north would just stay apart. These two storms would stay apart. Maybe some intermittent snows, a couple inches to the north. Whoa, that's too big. A couple inches of snow to the north, like Pennsylvania Turnpike on northbound. And then the southern storm is going to stay apart. And it's going to bring some ice to the Appalachian Mountains, mid-south, mid-Atlantic. But if this storm could stay apart from the other one and strengthen, this could still pack a whopping punch without combining with this first system. However, if these two systems merge, we have one heck of a nor'easter on our hands. So here's scenario number 2. So here's, again, the low from the north, low from the south. They're going to combine on this around Sunday time frame and strengthen, and it's going to produce whopping amounts of snow from coastal Canada all the way down the I-95 corridor, all the way to D.C. But either way, the mid-south, like Appalachian Mountains, North Carolina, western North Carolina, either scenario, you're in a wintry mix. So unless something really happens where we have a really big change, you're pretty much guaranteed some ice in western North Carolina because both scenarios indicate that. And then some, intermittent, steady snow. If you live in like Chicago, Detroit, Indianapolis, that you would, from the first system, that would bring your like moderate snowfall, not too heavy. So here's Weather Channel. They have their own article. I'm gonna briefly show it to you if I can get this to load. This is just a brief weather article about their opinion on the storm. And you can see Saturday's outlook. There's a lot of snow up here to the north. There it is. St. Louis, Cincinnati. But notice the temperatures though. 38 degrees. Okay? So by Saturday afternoon, a lot of this is going to change to ice, and if not, and then rain. But Little Rock, it's a cold rain for you, 45. Nashville, 45. Atlanta, 44. Charlotte, 43. Charlotte saw like 8 inches of snow just like a month ago, actually. It's a month ago tomorrow. Because December 8th, that big winter storm that pushed through there. So, Winter Storm Diego. So DC, 34 degrees. The snow will come in for you, I'm sure, late Saturday, if the storm does arrive. But if you want to take it back another day here, as we head into Friday, it's going to be the rain will be farther to the west. So here's how the storm is going to work. So we're going to have this big high pressure system here. Okay, it's going to push a lot of the cold air all the way down the eastern seaboard, and we're going to have this low that pushes up the coast. Now, the high, see, this is the trick why they're forecasting it so early. This high, it does have like a northeasterly flow. Okay, so if that storm tracks up the coast, it's going to kind of pull it closer to the coast, so to speak, because we're going to have a northeasterly flow. So there are chances that this storm could get pulled towards the coast rather than escape freely, depending on how far south the high is, how far north the low is, whether the high is strong enough to grab the low, like a mother grabbing her son, like hugging her. It all depends here. Meanwhile, if we transfer our time to more current, we do have a winter weather advisory out for central Pennsylvania, northern New York, and all through New England. We do have our snow totals here. And central northern New York, so this is Albany, in case you don't know where we're at. It's in Albany right here. 2 to 4 inches around central and northern New York. Okay, so there could be a lot of snow potentially. Ice accumulations, aha. This is where we could see maybe 1/100 of an inch to 2/10 of an inch of ice. So please be careful traveling. Alright, so around Speculator, Gloversville, we're going to have that best chance to see those higher ice totals because of the warm and cold air combining. Okay, so please be careful traveling out there, even in Whitehall or anywhere, southern Vermont, because the ice will cause a lot of travel troubles. Okay, so we're going to move on to our next map here. And this is the Weather Prediction Center. And this is going to kind of show you where all the precipitation is, how are we dealing with things here. So here's that area of ice and freezing rain where that winter weather advisory is. And then that teal area, maybe some rain and snow possibly. Dipping in our area tonight, southeast Pennsylvania, northern Delaware. And then, because of that low, pushing off to the east, that's going to cause those big travel issues. Okay, so Climate Prediction Center here. Oscillations is what we're going to show you now. Arctic oscillation, here I'll make it bigger. It's going to dip into the negatives and come back up towards 0, and then all the models are like out of range from there. Some go from -2, so I'm going to put a range here of +1 to -2, and somewhere in that range in the next couple weeks, because the models for the Arctic oscillation are all over this. Negative, at least where I am in southeastern Pennsylvania, negative is good for the Arctic oscillation. North Atlantic oscillations, okay, they're not really cooperating here. They're hovering around 0 to up to around a half, +1/2. They're not really going to dip into negatives anytime soon. Okay, so that's one of the oscillations that's not really helping us here. It's not really cooperating. The Pacific North American pattern, it's doing okay. It's been high, okay, and it's taking a dip towards 0, and it's going to stay positive as well. It's going to stay around +1/2, just like the North Atlantic oscillation is. But again, they have to be there for a nice, solid, long period of time to really start to feel those effects. All right. So Climate Prediction Center here. We have our 6 to 10 day outlook. Normal conditions for the eastern seaboard in terms of temperatures. Maybe wet in the Mid-Atlantic, dry in the Northeast. I'm not gonna spend too much time on this here. Mid-Atlantic could be wet. 8 to 14 day outlook, 15 to the 21st. And warmer temperatures are possible. I'm going to show you my drawing on paint real quick before I wrap up. So here is storm scenario number 1. I kind of drew it out for you so make it more simpler. So I didn't really have time to do the key, but I can explain it to you. So the light blue here, the intermittent light snow from that first low here, and then that southern low bringing some cold rain to the southeast, and the Mid-Atlantic could even pick up some rain and snow mix, some freezing rain possibly. For storm scenario number 1. Storm scenario number 2 is a different story. This is where we have the low, if you remember what I said earlier, the low coming down from the upper Midwest, the low coming down or coming up from the southern plains, and they're going to combine to make this huge, possibly nor'easter. So southern Indiana, central Illinois, southern Ohio, maybe some light snow. Moderate snow from the southern storm and moderate snow from the northern storm, and then once they combine, there's going to be some very heavy snowfall, potentially from like DC all the way up towards Portland and Bar Harbor, Maine. And then if you're just west of that area of heavy snow, just some steady snow, if you're farther away from that area of central lowest pressure. So that is all for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. I dedicate this presentation to all the police officers out there. Thank you for fighting for us. I am the Weather Dude, signing off. Till next time.